Hey everybody, I hope you are well on this glorious August day where I think it's only barely 60 degrees. So there are leaves on the ground of all things at my house, in part because of the stress that trees have been under through some volatile weather conditions. And of course we have seen the just dramatically devastating and lethal flooding in the southwest part of the state recently, which we felt ourselves the pinch of not so long ago. So please, if you are driving through that area, reminder, I know the Floodwaters Society, but always, take care to look at precautions, follow stay away from the cones. Don't try to cut through yellow tape. Even if something looks safe, please exercise caution. I imagine that's not the last of volatile weather conditions. I attended a briefing on the flooding in southwest Connecticut earlier this week, and one of the things that was sort of most shocking is how little warning they got. We just did not predict this sudden outburst was going to happen so quickly and so devastatingly. So best be prepared ahead of time and think about these things ahead of time as much as possible. It is hard. It's 60 degrees in August is a little bit hard to, but I also just sent my youngest back to college. So it does feel like the page is starting to turn as we accelerate into all the summer events around here. And lots of concerts wrapping up and things like that. And of course, as always, I'll put all those events in my newsletter. Tax-free week continues, which is always good news, through Saturday, the 24th. And then I just wanted to touch base again on the pain that people are experiencing right now on energy rates. I know I talked about this last week when I was still suffering from COVID, so I hope I made sense. I am better now, although I'm also hearing from people about the long-term effects of COVID, and I do get a little tired. I'm trying to be respectful from that and learn from other people. But so energy costs, just when people were feeling the pinch of those high bills coming in July, Eversource and our provider and United Utilities, UI, went in and asked for another set of reimbursements, which we asked them not to do right now to spare people because they were feeling the pinch, and they did it anyway. So we did pass legislation, a few years ago called the Take Back the Grid Act, which had a lot of things in it, but part of it was to start to make our utilities more responsible to the ratepayers as they are to their shareholders. And that is a slow moving ship, and it's complicated, and we do need to wrestle them into it's going to take time. One of the things, first of all, if you are experiencing difficulty paying your bill, please reach out to my office. There are resources available, government resources, nonprofit resources that can help you with fuel costs, that can also help you increase fuel efficiency. I know for a lot of people, actually, a big increase has to do with usage because it was so hot. There are ways that we can provide immediate assistance to make sure that you're cared for. So please reach out to us to help with that. Longer term, again, it's more complicated, but it does have to do with the recovery of the most recent increases with the recovery of costs. Our utilities are entitled by law and held up by the courts to get reimbursed for their costs. And we do want them to make investments in the grid, which we need to be resilient and strong. And also forward-looking. I mean, for example, a lot more people are driving electric cars now, and we've had a lot of conversations. In fact, the regulatory, we slowed down the push forcing the sale of electric cars, because part of the reason for that is because we didn't have the infrastructure in place for them. So we do need to get that infrastructure in place, but they did not need to ask for that reimbursement right now, and it really felt like insult on top of injury. So I just want to lay out, it is complicated, but some things that we have already done that will bear fruit in the future, and things that we can work on in the upcoming session. One is with respect to Eversource, requesting what they're entitled to, which is recovery of costs. They also get a return on that, so they're profiting from that by law, and so there are some costs, for example, the EV charging stuff, that perhaps Eversource shouldn't go through them. We should run it through an entity, for example, like the Green Bank, which has lower borrowing costs. And so that could be something that we should focus on next year. Also, when they ask for it, as I mentioned, they did not need to do it now. We asked them not to do it now. They did it anyway. So we can maybe tighten that up. Also, what period of time over which they get their costs recovered. The Public Utility Regulatory Authority Chair, Marissa Gillette, has tried to lengthen that period so that ratepayers are protected and have a buffer against the extreme volatility of rates. And so, rather than getting their costs back in 10 months, maybe it's 20 months or 2 years or something like that. She was overruled by the other directors, and I think we can work on putting pressure on PURA to act there as well. We also, another part of the issue has to do with who shares our costs. So a big part of that increase had to do with the Millstone nuclear power plant, which provides 40% of Connecticut's energy, 15% of New England's energy. So it is an important player not only to Connecticut, but also to the entire region. And yet Connecticut is the only state that props it up with that requirement to purchase 50% of their energy through the end of the current contract, which is 2029. We did pass legislation enabling us to renegotiate that, to get the other states who also take advantage of that energy, use that energy to help us pay those costs. Weirdly, there was opposition to that by the minority party, which I don't fully understand. They wanted us to continue with Connecticut going alone. I still need an explanation on that one, but that legislation passed, and so, even if we were to get Massachusetts to share, our costs could go down by as much as 2/3. So that is something that we'll look forward to the future. But again, these are long-term things. And as a structural matter, you really don't want the legislature weighing in and turning it into a partisan battle every time there's a rate change. That's not good for the grid. That's not good for investment. That's not good for the ratepayer. So we're trying to help with shorter-term solutions now to help the people who are most vulnerable, and to fix the incentives in the future so that our utilities are incentivized to protect the ratepayer, again, not the shareholder. So lots to do in the future. I wanted to also note on a different topic, but one that's also about experiencing pain and fear, which is bears. I hear from many constituents about hostile interactions with bears, attacking dogs, breaking into their homes, into their porches, into their kitchens. And also, of course, farmers. And I get sent just devastating drone footage of just, for example, in cornfields, the acreage that a black bear or a collection of black bears can produce. And I mean, I have fruit trees at my house, and yes, bears come and eat my fruit trees, but I don't make my living from them. And so it is a different thing. So we did pass legislation that will enable, and it has just become live. I've talked to a lot of farmers, and in the process of it coming live, it took a while, that will allow a farm, first of all, give the farm assistance to first work on non-lethal methods. So, for example, for a lot of instances, electric fencing can help, but it doesn't work for all. It doesn't work for large acreage or other areas where there might be other operational reasons why that doesn't work. So it will help ensure that we get non-lethal methods put in place to prevent these kinds of this kind of devastation. But then at the end of the day, if that's not working, and we've had the biologists go out and check on this, that a farmer will be allowed to take bears that have been destroying their livelihood. So I'll put information about that in the newsletter as well. So I hope you're taking care and staying healthy and well, and looking forward to the Goshen Fair on Labor Day weekend. Take care.